Hello, hello to my Zentangle friends. This is Barbara Langston, CZT, Certified Zentangle Teacher. I hope you're having a great day and I welcome you to another video. Today, I do want to start with the first step of the 8 basic steps to the Zentangle method, and that's gratitude and appreciation. I am so grateful for so many awesome comments that I get on my YouTube channel for my videos. I appreciate that so much. I appreciate all of you who watch my videos, and I'm so happy that you enjoy them. Okay, today I'm going to show you a class that I did recently in Zoom class for friends, and it is for this tile, and it is the word of the year. And I did several of these, and some of them I did for practice because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the class, and then I also wanted to make sure I was ready for the class. So I actually have several of these. Here is one of my words, confidence. And this is one that I did. I colored the tile first with Lindy's Magicals, and then I did the tangles on top of it. And then the last one that I did is this one. And the color doesn't show up exactly right on this screen, but it is a tan tile, and I did it with a brown pen. And the other thing that I did is this cute little stand, and I cannot remember who I saw this from. I watched the video, and it's simply a 3Z tile, which is just, you know, the Zentangle 3Z, which is 3-inch on each side triangle, and then you slip it inside like this, and it will hold up your tile. So I'm going to show you how to do both the tile and the little stand for it today. And I am going to use today a 4-inch tile because I cut my own and I prefer just a little bit more space when I'm working on a tile. You can use a 3.5-inch tile. You can use any color that you want. I have those samples in that I just showed you in white, in gray, in tan, and then the one that I did with watercolor. For most of this, I'm going to use a Micron 01. You could use a PN. And then for the bottom of the tile where I fill it in, you might want to have something a little bit thicker than the 01. And you could use an 08. If you happen to have a graphic 1, you could also use that. I'll have my Tortillion, a graphite pencil, and never hurts to have a pencil close by in case you want to use it. All right, so we're going to start with our string. And for this one, I'm going to not use the 4 corner dots. And I'm just going to make an arch from one corner over to this one. Right? And then I'm going to come down. Since this is a 4-inch tile, I'm coming a little bit more than a 1/2 inch. You could do it however you want. And then I'm just going to aura that line. If it doesn't come out just the way you wanted, you can even it out. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. And then we're just going to do that again. Okay. Okay, there we go. That's why I need an eraser sometimes. And then one more down here at the bottom. Okay. And so we're going to start our pattern down here at the bottom. And the first pattern that we're going to do is called Gniess. I think that's how you say it. And that is Gneis. And that is by Zentangle. The other pattern we're going to do is a Mooca Ribbon. And I saw Maria Thomas do that in Project Pack 10, I believe it is. The next one is Golven, and that is by Mariet Lustenhouwer. And I'm not sure that I'm saying her name right. And then the last one is Lotus Fluff, and that's by Smita, Toke. Okay, so we're going to do this first one in this bottom part. And I'm just going to kind of make sure I'm coming down the center, and that looks like that's about the center here. And I'm going to do my first line straight down. I'm going to do a second line halfway. And then another line halfway, so in the middle over here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is add a dot and then make a little triangle shape or a V shape in each one of these. And it looks like I came down a little bit more on some of these, but it's okay. Next thing we're going to do is where those lines meet, we're going to make another line, bring it down to this point. Okay. And the next thing we're going to do is get our bigger pen, and I'm going to use an 08. Like I said, you can use the 01, but when you're filling in a large area, it can tend to damage that fine tip a little bit. So on one side of each of these, we're going to fill it in. And actually, I'm going to switch to the graphic 01 so you don't have to watch me fill this in for so long. I wish I had more of these in more colors, because when you're filling in a large area, it's really nice. I'm trying a different background today. Let me know what you think. You can pause these videos wherever you need to, fast forward if you need to. do it at a lower or faster speed. It's a nice thing about the YouTube videos. I always do mine in a normal speed. Yeah, this Graphic 01 is so much better for filling in a large area like this. I am on the Gulf Coast of Texas, and it's a very cloudy, muggy day today. I hope it's pretty where you're at. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my Graphic 01, and at the top we're going to put some auras. Until we get to that line. If you go a little bit above it, that's fine. I will also include in the description a link to a site that gives you an idea of words to use for word of the year. I'm going to add another little R right here so that these meet at the top. And go ahead and add one here. Okay, and always remember to make this your art. This is for you. It's not for me. If you want to put a different pattern in there, please do. This is just giving you an idea. Okay, so I straightened out my line, erased that bottom part, and now I'm going to add my ink on top of this line that I made. If you want to straighten yours out, now is the time to do it. And then I'm going to add an aura below that. Stop if you need to, and then just bring your pen down and touch right where you left off or right before it, and then you won't necessarily see where you started and stopped. Okay, I'm going to do that on each of these lines. And again, add an aura. Okay. These patterns that I'm teaching today have a lot of detail. So you can just take your time. You can use this as a practice tile and then go back and do another tile once you understand what you're doing. There's many times that I've watched a class and I didn't like how my tile turned out because it was the first time. I didn't know those patterns, And even now I struggle with patterns. And so I'll either do it on the other side or just start a whole new tile. Okay, in this part, we're going to add our words. And if you want to, you can add an aura line here, or you can just leave it open to put your word in here. So again, this is how I did this one. But on this one, I think I'm going to leave it open. And you just have the option then to fill it the way you want. Looks like it's got a little bit dirty somehow. Okay. I do really like having these kneaded erasers. You can get them down to kind of like a sharp edge and clean up anything that you feel like you need to. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is what I call a Mooca Ribbon. That's this one. And this was by Maria Thomas. And in, I believe, like I said, it was Project Pack 10. She did a ribbon with Mooca, and I thought it was very pretty. And with Mooca, just do a curve, come down, and come back up like you're going to make a circle, and then stop. And then come back down and aura that line. Okay? And then we're going to do that again, coming back in this direction. And we're going to start on the back of that Mooca. Come around, make our arc. Come around like you're going to make a circle. Stop. Aura your line. Come back up and stop again. Okay? So here we go again. We're going to start off the back of this one. Come around. Make our circle. Stop. Come back around. Mooca takes some practice, but once you relax and just enjoy the process, I think it's a beautiful pattern. And Maria, if you watch any of her videos, she uses it a lot. Okay? And this one is going to go off the page. And then the next thing we're going to do is add an anchored aura. And what that means is we're going to start like we're going to have an aura, but then we're going to come down and anchor it right there at that corner. Let's add another one. And another one. And then in this part, we're going to add just 3 little petals similar to flux. Okay, and now we're going to come back here to this one again and do the same thing. We're going to make an anchored aura. Each of these gets a little bit smaller than the first one and goes down to that edge. Come in here and add 3 petals. Remember to turn your tile to keep your hand comfortable. Okay, here we go again with another aura. You may have seen a pattern similar to this that's called Elegon. It is similar. It uses Mooca, but like I said, this one was one that I watched Maria do in the project pack and just loved it. Okay, so in this one, we would have had the petals coming down similar to this. So we're just going to pretend that those petals are coming back. Then we're going to add our little flux petals here. Okay, so this, if you look at how this is coming up, we're just going to add the petals. The Mooca would have been coming around similar to this. And I'll show you a trick that I do sometimes. I'll find a piece of paper. Okay, here's just a scrap piece of paper. If I were making that Mooca right next to this, okay, I could just put a scrap piece of paper under here and pretend that I had Mooca coming this way and this one coming off here. And that gives you an idea of how that would have looked, and it gives you a piece of paper to draw on, and then you just move that away. Okay? And then do that. Okay? And then the other thing that Maria did was she put 3 dots in here. And you can see I've done that on this one. And you can see how much the contrast makes on a darker tile. This is actually a craft color paper that I got from Dick Blick. But to be able to add color in the highlights is really nice. You won't see that on this one, but if you wanted to do this tile again, you could definitely add those highlights on a colored tile, whether it be gray or tan or even black. Okay, let's go ahead and make those dots. Let's do circles this time. These little orbs. Or you can just leave it open. Make it your art. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is Golven, and that is this part. Okay, and we're going to start by putting triangles all the way across. Mine are not going to be perfectly even. I don't think I've ever done perfect. And I've learned to not expect it of myself or anyone else. Just enjoy the process of doing art, following step-by-step patterns. I think that's just the most exciting thing for me with Zentangle, is that I have patterns that I can follow. Okay, now on each side of these triangles, we're going to aura inside. We're not going to touch the top. We're just going to leave the aura just inside each one of these lines. Turn your tile. Okay. Turn your tile. Let's do that again on the other side. You can see that this one is a little fatter, and that's okay. I'm going to finish putting that line up. Okay, so we have our triangles all the way across. Next thing I'm going to do is similar to what we did here. We're going to add 4 lines. A nice arch on this. And your last one is going to touch up there at the top. And then we're going to add just a little bit of weight at the end of these lines. Makes it look like they've connected to that side. It's almost like a little triangle. Okay. We're going to do that all the way across on both sides. Okay. I had to plug in my phone. I use my iPhone as my camera, which can be tricky sometimes, and I needed to plug it in. Again, there's a lot of detail on this, but you're learning some new patterns, maybe. I've done this one before, but I've never taught it. Feel free to use this idea to do your own word of the year. You might have another kind of pattern that you prefer to put in these little ribbons. Make this your own. Be happy with what you're doing. I love doing Zentangle every day, and I love teaching it. I love sharing it. I'm still amazed at how many patterns are out there that I've never tried. There is the tanglepatterns.com website. There is pattern-collection website. And gosh, I have no idea how many total patterns are on each one of those sites, but lots. Okay, once you get that side done, let's do that on the other side. And again, add a little bit of weighting where it connects. Remember to take deep breaths, relax your shoulders, stretch your hand if you need to. And my little weighting down here, as you can see, is not perfect. You're not trying to do any kind of perfect triangles. You're just adding a little bit of extra ink down there where each one of these lines meet. All right. So that is Golven. And the next pattern that I'm going to do is called Lotus Fluff. And you could do any pattern that you want at the top. This one that I showed you is a little bit different. And that top one is called Floral by Alice Hendon. And then I put flux and zinger to kind of fill in those edges. So just an idea if you want to change it. So for Lotus Fluff, I want to put my first petal here in the middle, and I'm just going to come down and make an arch, and then come back up. Okay? And then I'm going to come down here to the bottom and put a kind of a big spiral here in the center. And then I'm going to come up and put an aura. It goes down to this side of the spiral, and another aura down to this side of the spiral. Okay, now we're going to put some petals on each side. So I'm going to come up, come back down, and then anchor that at the bottom of that petal. And then go back to up to the top and bring a curved line around, and it makes it look like an open petal. Okay, we're going to come down a little bit and repeat that. Come around again. Okay, let's do that one more time. The original pattern does not have that many, but again, make your art the way that you want it. And now we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So we're going to come up, over, bring it around and under. Mine is not exactly matching the other side. That's okay. Okay, see, I have a tendency, if you see here, to not end my lines where they should. If you'll watch where you're going and not where you've been, you'll do a little bit better. But that's a problem I've had for a while. Okay. Watch where you're going and end where you should. Let's do one more. Okay, so that's Lotus Fluff. I'm going to come over here and put pretty good size orb next to that. And fill in these little spots with some orbs. You can fill in the extra space here in black, or you can leave it open. Okay, I'm going to put another orb here and one more here. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Good size orb. That one looks like it went behind, and that's okay. Same here. Fill it in. And another one here. And a smaller one here. Having open area down here on the bottom, you can fill that in a little bit. All right. I'm not real happy that this didn't come over to this edge. That's my fault. I think I'm just going to bring that line over a little bit, just leave it so that's not open. Again, inside here, put whatever word you want to. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to get our graphite pencil and our Tortillion, and we're going to start shading. Okay, I'm going to go down and start here and add some graphite just at the side of each of these lines. And then I'm going to add a little graphite at the side where these meet. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of graphite at the top of each of these arches. And a little bit underneath this arch. And then I invite you to put whatever your word of the year is next to that. Or you could just put a pattern in there. If you were doing this on a colored tile like this, then we would be adding white at the top of this, but it's not going to show up in this one. Okay, so next we're going to soften the graphite in the center of these, leaving this part white. That still gives you a highlight. And then soften these. Let's turn it and soften this a little bit. Cleaned it where there was a little bit of graphite where I didn't want it. Okay, so now we're going to come up here and do this ribbon. I'm going to take another piece of tile and just cover this so that when I'm putting my hand on here, I'm not rubbing my hand where that graphite already is. You could put a tissue, anything like that on there to cover it if you like. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bottom of these petals and add a little bit of graphite, add a little bit on this, the top of the Mooca. Okay, for each of these Mookas, I'm just going to put like a C, the letter C of highlight or graphite. So I'm going to go across and do that on each of these. This gives you some nice rounding. And I'm keeping that tile under my hand so that I'm not smearing where I've already put the graphite. I'm going to take my Tortillion now and soften where I've put the graphite. Okay, so back to my graphite. And I'm going to add graphite next to each of these lines where we have the weighting. So right next to where each of these R's connects. I normally start with just a light amount of graphite. You can come back and add more if you want. If you find out that you've added too much, I am not against using a kneaded eraser to remove some of that if I need to. This is your art. Make it the way you like it. Okay, so now we're just going to bring that graphite toward the center, but we're going to leave that center white. And that makes it look like a cone, like it's rounded. Make sure you leave it white in the center. And I'm keeping my hand on this tile. Pretty amazing how much a little bit of shading can do for your tile. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is on the Lotus Fluff, I'm going to add just a little bit of shading inside each of these little openings and in that center part. Okay, and then on each side of this petal, where it looks like one is going under the other one, I'm going to add just a little bit of graphite. And then on each of these orbs, I'm going to add a little bit of graphite just at the top, making that C, letter C shape like we did on the Mooca down here. Okay, so now I'm on the other side. Add a little bit of graphite on this side of each petal. Let's add a little bit of graphite at the top of each of our orbs. And then I'm just going to put a little graphite on top of this spiral. Okay, now with my Tortillion, I'm going to soften and blend each of that down into the paper. We're almost done. Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. I really love it when something like this comes together. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I made the little stand like this. And the one that I did that matched this one, okay, I put my tile in here and marked it so that I could make the pattern match. That's not a requirement. I'll show you this one that I made that you could decorate and put any tile inside of it. I didn't color it, but that's just an example. And to do this one, I'm going to move this out of the way and put a cutting board down. So this is my cutting mat. This is a 3Z tile, or I cut my own. This is 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches. And to make a stand, I can show you, I have marked a line at 1 1/4 inches and marked another line at 1 1/8 inch. I'm going to fold it at that 1 1/8, and you don't have to mark yours as bold as I did, but I'm doing that so that you can see how I did it. Okay, so that's the 1 1/8, and then at 1 1/4, 1 1/8. Okay, and then to get it folded just right, there's your little stand. Okay, and I have an X-Acto knife, and I'm going to mark on this side from about halfway on this, so about 1/2 inch. I'm going to come up and just mark an arch. Then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, being very careful, and I'm going to cut that arch. Okay, and it didn't go through the first time, so I'm going to do it again. And I wish I remembered who I saw do this, but if I ever do find it, I will put it in the description, because I like to give credit to people I've learned from. This is such a simple idea for displaying your tiles. Okay, so now we have that hole, and here's our tile. You can slip it in and stand it up. Okay, you may find that it's not really strong, so one of the things that I've done is get a strip of paper, and with glue you can glue this on here, okay, like that. And then once that's glued on, find the right spot for the way that you need your tile to sit, and then glue it down to this little tab and trim it. Okay, so you can see that I did that here on this one, and I did that here on this one, and it made for a much more steady stand for my tiles. All right, so that's it. Here's our tile again with a space for your word of the year. I hope you have an awesome year. I hope this is a much better year for all of us. And I thank you again for tuning into my channel. Please hit the like button and the subscribe if you've liked this. Leave me any comments, whether good or bad. If this was bad, then let me know why. Let me know how I can improve, because I do this guy for you. And thank you again for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.